XT. Open plains. Day the horizon is a razor's edge, separating an immense, bleached blue sky from a sea of golden grass. The wind moves in visible waves across the land, a slow, deep breath that whispers of solitude and time. A lone figure on horseback, Elias, 40s, moves through this landscape. He is a man built of timber and stone, broad-shouldered and immense. Yet he sits his horse with a quiet gentleness that belies his size. The horse, a sturdy roan, plods onward with the steady rhythm of long travel. Elias's face is weathered, carved by sun and wind, his eyes holding a placid depth. He pulls a folded, crinkled document from his saddlebag. He unfolds it carefully. The deed of sale is simple, the script ornate but faded. At the bottom, a price is scrawled in stark ink. $9. He folds it, his large hands surprisingly delicate, and tucks it away. Before him, nestled in a slight depression of the land, a shape begins to resolve itself from the haze. A ranch. EXT. Ranch, Day the homestead is a testament to stubborn survival. The main house, built of thick, sun-bleached logs, sags slightly at the porch but seems rooted to the earth. The barn beside it leans, a shoulder hunched against the perpetual wind. Fences are down in places, wood silvered with age and neglect. Yet there are signs of life. Near the porch steps, a small, defiant vegetable garden flourishes. Its neat rows a stark contrast to the wildness around it. A line of washed-out linens, patched and worn thin, flutters between two posts. Elias dismounts, the leather of his saddle creaking in the profound silence. He approaches the house slowly, his heavy boots making soft thuds in the dust. The air smells of dry grass, pine, and something else, wood smoke, faint and recent. He ties his horse to the hitching post, giving its neck a slow, reassuring pat. He ascends the 3 porch steps which groan under his weight. He stands before the door, a solid plank of wood with a heavy iron latch. He doesn't knock. Instead, he listens. Nothing. He lifts the latch. It's not locked. The door swings inward with a low moan. In ranch house day, dust motes dance in the shafts of sunlight slicing through the grimy windows. The air inside is still and close, thick with the scent of abandonment. The main room is sparsely furnished. A rough-hewn table, 2 chairs, a stone fireplace black with soot. A thin layer of dust covers everything. Yet it's not the dust of years, but of weeks. Then he sees them. In the far corner of the room, near the entrance to a darker hallway, stand 2 young women. Twins. Alara and Lyra, early 20s, are as identical as 2 saplings from the same root, both with pale hair that catches the light and faces that hold a stark, prairie beauty. But their postures are a study in opposition. Lyra stands slightly behind her sister, her hands clutching her own arms, her eyes wide with a quiet, cornered animal fear. Alara stands in front, a shield. She holds a heavy, black iron skillet in both hands, its weight a promise of violence. Her jaw is set, her gaze a sliver of ice. Elias freezes in the doorway, his massive frame filling the space. He doesn't move, doesn't speak. He simply watches them, his expression unreadable. The silence stretches, thick and heavy as wool. Finally, Alara's voice, low and tight, cuts through it. Alara, we have nothing to steal. Elias slowly reaches into his coat. His movements deliberate, telegraphing his intent. Alara tenses, lifting the skillet higher. He doesn't pull a weapon. He pulls out the folded deed. He holds it out. Alara, what is that?
Illustrate.
He takes a single, slow step into the room and places the paper on the dusty table. He retreats back to the doorway, giving them space. Alara's eyes dart from Elias to the document. She doesn't move. Lyra whispers something too low to hear. Alara shakes her head. A minute, sharp gesture. Alara, that paper means nothing. The man who signed it is a thief. This was our father's land. Elias's gaze drifts from her defiant face to the worn floorboards, the patched elbows of her dress, the trembling form of her sister behind her. He sees not just trespassers, but the last remnants of a stand. Elias, he said it was empty. Alara, he lied. Elias nods slowly, a gesture of acknowledgement, not agreement. He looks at them for a long moment, then turns without a word and walks out, leaving the door ajar. Alara watches him go, the skillet still held high, her knuckles white. She doesn't lower it until the sound of his footsteps fades toward the barn. Lyra lets out a breath she seems to have been holding since he arrived. Lyra just left. Alara for now. In barn night, the barn is vast and cathedral-like, smelling of old hay and dry earth. Moonlight streams through the gaps in the roof, painting silver stripes on the dusty floor. Elias has made his camp in the hayloft. He hasn't unpacked much. His bedroll is laid out on a clean patch of hay. His saddle rests nearby like a loyal dog. He sits at the edge of the loft, his legs dangling over, looking out the large, open barn door toward the house. A single, amber light glows in one of the windows. A silhouette moves past it. He knows he could force the issue. The law is a piece of paper in his pocket. But the law feels very far away out here. The truth of the situation is in that small, defiant garden, in the skillet held like a shield, in the way one sister protects the other. He pulls an apple from his saddlebag and eats it slowly, the crunch loud in the silence. XT. Ranch, dawn the next morning. The sun rises, casting a rosy glow on the land. The light in the house is out. Elias is already at work. He doesn't approach the house. He starts with the fences. He moves with an economy of motion that is mesmerizing for a man his size. He pulls up rotten posts, his muscles cording in his arms. He digs new holes. He splices broken wire. From the kitchen window, Alara and Lyra watch him. They see the steady, relentless nature of his labor. He works as if the ranch is already his, as if he has worked it for 100 years. Alara, he's starting on the north fence. Lyra, it's been broken since the last thaw. Alara says nothing, her expression a mixture of suspicion and a grudging, unnameable respect for the work itself. For 3 days, this is the rhythm. Elias works from sunup to sundown. He waters his horse at the trough, his back always to the house. He sleeps in the barn. He makes no demands, speaks no words to them. On the 4th morning, he wakes to find something on the large stump he uses as a table outside the barn. A small, slightly lopsided loaf of bread and a mason jar of cool well water. He looks toward the house. The curtains are still drawn. He picks up the bread, its warmth still faintly clinging to it. He breaks off a piece and eats. Later that day, he returns from the fields leading a milking cow, its bell a gentle, alien sound in the quiet. He milks her, his large hands working with practiced ease. He fills a pail, walks it to the porch of the house, and sets it on the top step. He turns and walks away without looking back. A few moments later, the door creeps open. A pale hand darts out and pulls the pail inside. This is their new language. A language of necessity, of unspoken gestures. One afternoon, the hand pump for the well gives a final, agonized squeal and ceases. Elias works on it for an hour, his brow furrowed in frustration. A rusted bolt will not budge. He hears a soft sound behind him. Alara is standing there, holding a long-handled wrench. She doesn't speak. She just points with it at the stubborn bolt. He nods. He braces the pump while she fits the wrench. They work together, a silent, coordinated effort. The bolt groans, scrapes, and finally gives way with a loud crack. For a brief second, their hands brush against the cold iron of the pump handle. The contact is electric in its rarity. They both pull back. Elias thanks. Alara, the house needs water. She turns and walks back to the house, the wrench in her hand. Elias watches her go, then looks down at the pump. A slow, almost imperceptible smile touches the corners of his mouth. The seasons begin to turn, the gold of summer deepening into the burnished bronze of autumn. The unspoken truce solidifies into a routine. Elias repairs the barn roof. Lyra, the quieter sister, begins leaving a hot plate of food on the stump each evening. He discovers she is a remarkable artist. He sees her sometimes, sitting on the porch, sketching in a worn leather-bound book. One day, he finds a page that has fallen out, caught by the wind against a fence post. It's a charcoal portrait of an older man with kind eyes and a tired smile. Their father. He picks it up just as Alara exits the house. Her eyes lock on the drawing in his hand. Her face closes like a fist. Alara, that's not yours. He holds it out to her, his expression betraying nothing. Elias, the wind. She snatches it from his hand and retreats back inside. The door closes with a firm click. It is a reminder that the ground beneath their fragile peace is still fallow and haunted. Winter announces its arrival not with a whisper, but a roar. The sky turns the color of slate, and a brutal blizzard descends, erasing the horizon and burying the world in white. Elias secures the livestock in the newly mended barn, his breath pluming in the frigid air. The wind howls, a physical force that batters the small house. For the first time, he knows he cannot stay in the barn. He fights his way through the gathering drifts to the porch. He knocks, the sound swallowed by the storm. The door opens. Alara stands there, her face pale. Behind her, the room is lit by the warm glow of an oil lamp. She looks at him, at the snow clinging to his coat, at the fury of the storm behind him. She steps back, holding the door open. It is not an invitation, but an acknowledgement of a shared enemy. He steps inside, bringing the cold with him, and closes the door, shutting out the storm. The three of them are now trapped together in the small, warm space. The house groans around them. Sometime in the deepest hour of the second night, a new sound joins the shrieking of the wind. A racked, painful cough from the small room where the sisters sleep. Alara appears in the doorway, her face etched with panic. Alara, she's burning. Lyra. Elias gets up from his spot by the hearth. He follows Alara into the room. Lyra is thrashing under a pile of quilts, her skin flushed, her breathing shallow. Elias places a large, surprisingly gentle hand on her forehead. The heat is alarming. Without a word, he goes back into the main room, takes a kettle and heads out into the storm. Alara watches, bewildered. As he returns minutes later, the kettle filled with snow. He sets it on the hearth to melt. He goes to his saddlebags, which he'd brought in from the barn, and pulls out a small cloth pouch of dried herbs and a piece of willow bark. Alara, what are you doing? Elias, my mother. She knew these things. He works quietly, crushing the herbs, making a poultice. He brews a bitter tea from the bark. He coaxes Lyra to drink, holding her head up. He sits by her bedside, changing the cool cloths on her forehead. Alara watches him, her defenses worn away by exhaustion and fear. She sees not an intruder, not the man who holds the deed, but simply a calm presence in the face of the storm, both inside and out. She eventually succumbs to sleep in a chair by the fire. When she wakes, the blizzard has broken. A weak, watery sunlight filters into the room. The silence is absolute. She rushes to the bedroom. Elias is asleep in the chair by the bed, his head slumped to his chest. Lyra is sleeping peacefully, her fever gone. Her breathing is deep and even. Alara looks at the massive man folded into the small chair, and for the first time, she feels no fear, only a profound, aching gratitude. Later that day, as the world outside drips and melts, they sit at the table, sharing a thin broth. The silence is different now, companionable. Alara finally breaks it, her voice quiet but clear. Alara, his name was Thomas Finch. He was our father's partner. She tells him everything. How their father left on a cattle drive 2 years ago and never returned. How Finch came back alone 6 months later, bearing a story of an accident on the trail and a forged bill of sale for the ranch. He wanted the land, but he also wanted them gone. Their refusal was an insult to his pride. Alara, he sold it to you for $9 because he assumed you'd be the kind of man to throw 2 girls out into the wilderness. He wanted to be rid of the problem, but he wanted us to suffer for it. Elias listens, his gaze steady. He looks at Lyra, now sitting up and sipping her tea, a sketchbook open on her lap. He looks at Alara, whose face has lost its hardness, revealing the deep weariness beneath. Elias, he was wrong. Weeks pass. The snow recedes, giving way to the muddy promise of spring. The ranch is alive. The routine is set. They are a unit, a strange and silent family forged by hardship. One bright, clear afternoon, a rider appears on the horizon. He's not a drifter. He rides with an arrogance that is visible even from a distance. Alara sees him first. Her body goes rigid. Alara, it's him. Finch. Elias looks up from the axe he was sharpening. He rises to his full height. Lyra comes out onto the porch, her face pale, and stands close to her sister. Thomas Finch, 50s, slick and cruel, rides up to the house, a smirk on his face. He takes in the mended fences, the healthy cow, the smoke curling from the chimney. His smirk falters. Finch, well, looks like you settled in. I'm here to see the new owner. He looks past the sisters, expecting to deal with Elias alone. Elias steps forward and stands beside them. He doesn't speak. He just stands there, a mountain of a man, his presence an unshakable fact. Finch looks at Elias, then at the girls flanking him. He sees they are not afraid. He sees they are not alone. He was expecting a brute he could manipulate or a coward he could bully. He was not expecting this quiet, solid wall of a man who stood with them, not over them. Finch, I have business with him. Alara, his business is our business. Finch's eyes narrow. He looks for a crack, a weakness. He finds none. He sees the three of them, perfectly still, a tableau of defiance and belonging. The $9 insult has backfired. He has not created suffering. He has, by accident, created a fortress. With a sneer that doesn't hide his defeat, he wheels his horse around and kicks it into a gallop, riding away until he is just a speck against the vast landscape. No one moves until he is gone. Lyra lets out a shaky breath. Alara looks at Elias, her eyes shining with unshed tears. For the first time, she smiles. A true, open, brilliant smile. XT. Ranch, late spring, the land is bursting with green. The garden is twice its former size, spilling over with new life. Elias sits on the porch steps in the warm afternoon sun, a piece of soft pine in his hand. He is showing Lyra how to use a whittling knife, his large hands guiding her smaller ones as she carves a small, clumsy bird. Alara comes out of the house, holding 2 mugs of coffee. She hands one to Elias. Their fingers brush, a warm and easy contact. She doesn't pull away. She sits on the step beside him, watching her sister's quiet concentration. The silence between them is no longer empty. It is full. Full of the rhythm of shared work, the memory of a shared storm, the promise of a shared future. This place, bought for the price of a trifle, has become their world. It is not a deed of paper that holds it, but the invisible, unbreakable bonds of an earned home. Elias looks out over the greening plains, a land that is finally at peace, and knows he has paid the truest price of all.